Let's talk to Peter Bleksley now, former Metropolitan Police detective, of course, because Westminster Bridge, we talked about this yesterday, just now when I was talking to James Robinson. A man's in critical condition following what appears to be a fight one morning over the weekend. Very strange business. Let's find out what we can from Peter. Peter, very good morning to you.
Good morning to you.
As we speak, there's a summit currently going on in Downing Street talking about stopping people from spiking women's drinks in particular. I'm sure there's also men who've had their drinks spiked as well. It's not just a genderless scenario. But I said to our last guest, who's a former Labour advisor, you know, it's all very well Sadiq Khan and Keir Starmer saying they want to protect women and girls, but, you know, the streets of London are probably more dangerous now than they've ever been. There's a lot going on out there.
Unfortunately, there really is. Yesterday morning's what appears to be a fight on Westminster Bridge came as no surprise to me whatsoever. I'd been on Westminster Bridge 2 or 3 times last week, and whilst the Houses of Parliament are well protected by armed police officers, on the other side of the street where the underground station is, crime is rampant. Pickpockets, people offering to sell drugs to tourists who are trying to take a photograph of Big Ben, illegal, uninsured, pedalo type bicycle things, and there's not a police officer to be seen.
Considering the fact that Scotland Yard is literally 150 yards down the road, that's a bit embarrassing, isn't it?
It really is, but the same can be said for so many parts of this once great nation, because 25 years ago or so, the police decided to listen to the academics because they thought they knew best, and they gave up patrolling the streets. And now look at the state of the country. Yeah,
exactly. So they've given up patrolling the streets literally around Scotland Yard. That's staggering.
Yeah, well, you can imagine in that ivory tower, there's so many senior police officers probably engaged in diversity, equality and inclusion projects, and they're probably liaising with various think tanks. I mean, I've met plenty of think tankers over the years, and they're doing everything but actually getting officers out onto the street to patrol, to reassure the public, to prevent crime, to investigate crime when it happens, and to arrest offenders.
Well, that would be nice, but unfortunately, according to Lord Hogan, who you might say probably started all this nonsense, he's in the Telegraph this morning. A report published by the Policy Exchange think tank urges ministers to stop the police recording non-crime hate incidents. Apparently, they're spending up to 60,000 hours of officers' time every year. Well, it's no bleeding wonder they can't get out and arrest the real criminals.
Yeah, the police have got themselves in a dreadful tangle about this non-crime hate incident, and I'm firmly on the side of so many members of the public in your audience who over recent months have said, well, if it's not a crime, what are the police getting involved in it for? It's a really very sensible statement. Of course, back in the day, there were disputes between neighbours. We used to rock up. People knew us. We were much more respected than the police today. And when we gave words of advice, they would sometimes... The end of that conversation would be, and if we get called back again, we're going to be very unhappy.
Yes.
And consequently, people would take down the dirty pair of pants from the line, which one of these non-crime hate incidents was all about. They'd get the dog to stop barking. They'd train it. They'd deal with it better. And many other things that just got dealt with by words of advice.
Yes, it's a very euphemistic term you're using there, but you're absolutely right, because the problem for people in life generally now at the moment is actual criminals doing actual criminal acts on the streets, as you say, pickpocketing, mugging, stabbing, robbing, burglary, you know, car theft, what is sometimes referred to by some people as, you know, low-level crime, which, of course, is the kind of crime that blights your life and blights your neighbourhood.
Exactly. There's no low-level victims. Anybody from the world of policing or the media who uses that expression and other deeply insulting words like petty crime, for example, I jump all over them, because there's nothing petty about getting up in the morning, getting ready to go to work and finding that van that you work so hard to pay for is no longer on your drive and you can't go to work.
You know what? Here's something that might shock you. I went and did a bit of shopping yesterday because I thought I might as well do it while I've got the time to do it for the Christmas period as it's coming up. And I deliberately went to Canary Wharf because I knew that I could park my car in an underground car park, I could buy the stuff I wanted to buy, I could walk it to the car, put it in the boot without any fear or favour, because it's quite secure in Canary Wharf. I don't actually trust now going into somewhere like Selfridges or a big department store and walking down a street with a bag that's got a name on it in case somebody steals it.
Please, if anybody is fortunate enough to want to buy a quality watch, for example, and they go to central London, where so many of these watch retailers are, be extremely careful. My advice would be, picking up entirely on what you said, Mike, do not walk down the street with that small bag with the expensive watch name on it, because in all likelihood, you and that watch will very soon be parted by an unscrupulous criminal.
Yeah, and that's exactly where we are, and I find that to be a real absolute disaster for London, because people will stop coming here. I mean, at the moment, London's full of tourists and all of that's fine, but, you know, it won't soon be if this carries on. I've seen American cities being hollowed out by crime. You know, people move away, they don't want to live there anymore, and suddenly you've got a run-down city like San Francisco full of drug takers and ne'er-do-wells and nobody who's got any brains or children or a family wants to live there.
You took the name of that city clean out of my mouth, Mike. So many people used to flock there to holiday, to see the world-famous bridge and enjoy that city. And from what I'm hearing, it's been turned into a dump, basically, that nobody wants to go and visit. So we have to be very careful, because tourism is so important to London and other parts of this nation. And we need the police to reconnect with the simple, basic principles of policing, which were laid down by Sir Robert Peel nearly 200 years ago. And they are as relevant today as they were then. But unfortunately, generations of university-educated senior police officers who love academia, who are gripped by academia, seem to want to focus on other kind of things, which really, so often, is nothing to do with policing.
Exactly right. Great to talk to you, Peter Bleksley. Thank you very much indeed, former Metropolitan Police detective.